Higher ground. Today we have a special guest, Gabby Puig. Gabby, how are you today?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me. Super excited to have this conversation.
Well, thanks for being here. So, Gabby's a senior honors student at the University of Florida. Um, Gabby, why don't you share a little bit of background about yourself?
Sure. So, my name is Gabby. I'm a senior at the University of Florida. I'm an honor student pursuing a dual degree in business management and international studies. Majority of my focus has been in the business school with my time at UF. And during summers and different internships, I've had consulting internships, equity research internships, and recently I had the wonderful opportunity to work abroad. So, truly love anything that has to do with problem solving, international perspective, and trying new things.
Yes, so I actually met Gabby when I was abroad. We roomed together. So we both got the great opportunity to intern there. So, Gabby, how was that internship for you being abroad?
It was wonderful. It was definitely a little bit of a culture shock at the beginning. The British tend to do things a little differently, but it was overall a wonderful experience. I was commuting to work 4 times a week. I truly got to have the experience of what it was like to live and work in London and take the tube every morning and whatnot. I was working at Venari Partners, which is an executive search firm. They do a lot of equity research, and I was in their aviation sector, primarily doing research on specifically sustainability leadership, how the industry was looking, mapping out different key items like leadership, how many open positions, who was head for how long, trying to figure those things out to get a better understanding and picture of where the industry was headed and what it currently looked like.
hmm Wow, that sounds really interesting. I know we had a lot of fun when we were abroad, so that was a great experience. But that's not the only internship you've had. Tell me a little bit about the internship you did 2 summers ago and how that kind of went for you.
For sure. So 2 summers ago, I had the great opportunity to intern with McKinsey in Washington, D.C. McKinsey is a management consulting firm, and it was honestly the best experience I've had so far in a workplace. It was really, really a lot of hard work to get there, but it was completely worth it once I was there. I was working on a wonderful team in McKinsey's USG sector, and it was really a wonderful experience. I'm originally from Miami, Florida, so one, having the first opportunity to kind of work in a different city, and all that comes with that was very exciting. And then also, my work was very exciting to me as well. I definitely have a passion and kind of a love for industrials like aviation, travel, and all of that stuff. So I got very lucky that that was the type of case that I was put on. I know that some of my responsibilities included, creating decks for the clients, doing research, conducting interviews, trying to help our clients ultimately find a solution. And so my project was great because it started when I got there and kind of finished when I left. So I got to see the full life cycle of a project in consulting, which is kind of rare for a summer internship. But it was a wonderful experience, and I'm looking forward to going back. And I will be joining that office in August of 2026.
Wow, that's really amazing. Yeah, that's why I really wanted to talk to you today. And you mentioned it took a lot of hard work to
Yeah.
get there, especially after your sophomore summer. Did any of that hard work start in high school or did it really start when you got here?
That's actually a good question. I think that honestly, the habits that you start in high school are like where you start truly. Like, do I think that anything directly that I did in high school got me that job? Perhaps not. But I do think that the habits that I created in high school really influenced me coming into college and are what set me up for success when it came down for the recruiting cycle for consulting, and other like high finance roles. Some of those things definitely had to do like consistency, and hard work. I am a firm believer that you should only commit to things if you know that you can give them 110% of your time, and that you're passionate about it. I think that when you get to college, especially here at the University of Florida, which is wonderful, you have a lot of options. There's a lot of organizations to join, there's a lot to do. And so, having a strong foundation of knowing what I was passionate about and having that mindset of whatever I'm going to do, I'm going to do to 110%, I think helped lead me in the right path to pick things that set me up for success for McKinsey. So
Mhm.
yeah, maybe not directly, but for sure indirectly.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
that makes a lot of sense, and just, like, building the habits of, like, staying consistent with your
Yeah,
work, and, like, I feel like your work ethic really starts there too. Um,
absolutely.
Now what kind of things have you done in your time at UF that you think have been really transformative in, securing these competitive internships and then securing that post-grad offer?
For sure. So I can name three things. First, I'm president of this capital, which is a student run investment fund on campus. I joined this as a freshman. I started as a fundamental analyst, and I have truly been in every position of that fund. I've definitely worked my way up. I was fundamental analyst, investment associate in industrials. Then I was VP operations, and now I'm president. And so truly, like every position under the sun, I really worked my way up in that. And I think that that consistency with that organization really showed how committed I get to things. I have a lot of love for that org, but I also think it was the best thing I could have done for myself from a technical perspective. They truly prepared me in all of the skills that I would need technically to be successful on sitting at a finance desk or a consulting desk. So I learned not only the basics of investing, because we do it every semester. So I was writing equity research reports, I was writing decks, I was writing investment teasers, like these very technical aspects. It gave me an opportunity to practice, to learn it, and to get good at it. And more than anything, I think it taught me public speaking because, at the end of the semester, you have to present your investment pitch to the portfolio managers and ultimately they decide, right? So I learned how to be persuasive in my language, how to get my point across, how to know how to answer questions that sometimes are difficult to answer. So just truly prepared me technically, and then also a little bit more of that like qualitative side of things, like soft skills.
Mhm.
And second, I'm part of the business ethics case team at the University of Florida. Essentially, this case team, we focus on competing at competitions across the United States and Canada that primarily focus on ethics and problem solving in an ethical framework of some sort. I've had a great opportunity to travel across the United States, actually going to Arizona this Wednesday.
So
Um,
exciting.
Very, very exciting. And so, yeah, that's also given me a great opportunity to learn how to work on a team. I think that's something employers look for more and more are students who have actual tangible skills of working on a team. I think one thing is working on a group project, and then the other is traveling with a team, getting to know the other person, problem solving, truly mimicking these deadlines. And I think that confirmed for them to a certain extent on paper that I would be able to handle the tasks on the job.
Mhm. Okay, that makes sense. That's amazing. No, that sounds so fun. Are you excited to travel?
I love traveling. I love traveling. So it's the
That's
best.
amazing. So now once you got to your internship that
Mhm.
summer, what were kind of the things you did while in your internship that, like, you think really kind of put you above maybe other interns to get that post-grad offer?
Yeah, I will say all the interns that I worked with were amazing, super bright students. Um, and everybody was truly, truly wonderful. And I think that because we had such a great community, we had a really great support system internally, not only as an intern class, but also with the other resources that are available, such as HR and your professional development manager and whatnot. What's interesting about the McKinsey experience is that typically no two interns are on the same study or case.
Oh, interesting.
So I was the only intern on my study, and that was true for the rest of the interns that were with me that summer, which is nice because you truly like immerse into being part of the team, and they truly treat you like if you were a full-time analyst. And there wasn't any confusion, but I had a great intern community for lunch and for dinner and activities outside of the office. So I can't really speak to what maybe differentiated me, but I can speak to what I think made me successful, um,
Mhm,
which was the fact that I have always emphasized like getting to know people. Like when you're working on a team with people for the hours that you're working with these people, it is in your best interest always, I think, to try to develop genuine connections with them. I feel like that is the best way to go about anything, is about being genuine, um, and always like being honest about the situation. And so I was very always like open. I really formed great connections at the end of the summer. within my team. So internally, like that was my focus. But also externally, something for interns, I think that kind of applies to everybody, is that the
Mm.
networking doesn't stop once you get the job. And I learned that. And somebody told me that, and it always stuck with me. Somebody also told me when you're a summer intern, that's truly the only time that like a senior managing director of any firm is going to spend time on you or is going to be willing to speak to you for 15 minutes. And once I was told that, I was like, okay. And I kind of ran with it, and I made it a point to connect with as many people as I possibly could that were outside of my team that were doing work that I found interesting. And so I left that summer not only with an amazing group of people that I'm still close with, that was my team, my intern class, but also all of these other individual networks that I created.
Yeah, that's amazing. And I know you kind of mentioned, being a part of this community there. Was it ever challenging or hard to adapt when you first got into this internship and you first started, especially with like, the long hours that you're putting in?
Yeah, for sure. I think that anybody's first introduction into a true, corporate role, high finance role, consulting role, like is going to be a shock. And for me, being very honest, that was my first working experience I have ever had. So the first 2 weeks I was like, oh, okay, like this is new. So definitely the first 2 weeks I was a little bit still trying to find my footing. I was truly a deer in headlights for those first 2 weeks. Like training was a week and a half, and after training I was like, okay, I know I have all the skills, right, to do this job, but like now I have to do it. And so for the first 2 weeks it was definitely interesting, but what I will say is like I asked for help, and that was difficult to do, but I did it, and I think it made a world of difference because it is so much better to just ask for help initially than pretend like you know what you're doing, and then 4 weeks into the job you're like asking those questions that you should have known how to do when you first got there.
Mm.
So I think that I asked for a lot of help. People were more than willing to help me. I took feedback. I wanted feedback. I asked for feedback. I constantly wanted to improve. So while the beginning was a little bit uncomfortable because, having to set that alarm every day, get dressed, and commute to work in a different city definitely has its things, I ended up loving it. And it was the best summer I've had for sure. But first 2 weeks are going to be a learning curve for everybody.
No, yeah, I know exactly what you mean by that. Now, you kind of mentioned that your response a little back that an internship is just a never-ending interview process. Like you said, you're
Mhm.
kind of always um, going through that. Can you explain that a little bit more?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that um, the internship process is basically, especially as an intern, I'm not speaking to full time experience, but from my friends' experiences, from my own experiences, even from speaking to alumni, like once you get the job, you basically kind of have to prove to them to a certain extent that you're going to be a good investment for them to make, because they are signing these offers at the end of the summer, and then they have to wait basically an entire year before they get you again. And so in my case, that was 2 years.
Mhm.
So I needed them to feel extra confident that I was going to be a good fit in this office. And something that a lot of people discount, I find, is culture. They truly, if they're making the investment in you, want to ensure that you're going to be a good addition to their culture. Not only that you understand it, but that you want to continue to cultivate it and that you appreciate it for what it is. And so, in part of that networking process that I mentioned, like the networking doesn't stop, it's also a way for you to gauge as an intern if this is a place that you want to commit to, and if this is a place that you can see yourself grow. And I was lucky enough that all of the calls that I had and all of the people that I met, I connected with very well. I learned a lot from them, and I saw them in positions that I wanted to see myself in 5 or 6 years. And so that whole process I think was very good because it opened my eyes, but it also introduced me to the office. Like
Mhm.
people talk a lot. And so to have said like, oh, like she's really excited to meet people, she's interested in X, Y, and Z, trying to have an office that I'm only 10 weeks there for truly like get to know me. It's more than just your team, it's the office as a whole. So that's definitely that aspect of like you need people to know you. And then kind of the second aspect, like you're constantly interviewing. I think that that's when you're working more with your team and the work that you're producing, right? Like, can you do what you said you could on the interview?
Mhm.
Can you problem solve the way that you did when you were casing in the interview? So definitely putting those skills to the test, but also looking at like how you take feedback is a huge thing. Like these are a lot of undergraduate students, like you're not expected to know the specific answer to every single problem, but how are you, taking that feedback, reconstructing it, and then getting better? You know what I mean? How much do you want the team to succeed? Like how much are you putting in? And I think those efforts are very obvious, and I think part of the continual kind of interview process that we just mentioned.
Okay, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Now, what advice would you have for students who, haven't had as much experience, like, their first 1 to 2 years in college, but are really wanting to break into an internship role and start applying for internships?
I have always said that preparing for recruiting and going through the recruiting cycle is like a full-time job, and it should be treated as such. I think first and second year students, definitely the focus should be exploration, figuring out what it is that you truly like, what you're good at, where you want to be. I think that the first year and a half, 2 years is truly about exploration and figuring out, those aspects. My biggest recommendation would be to take advantage of different insights and first year programs that these different firms offer. They have amazing diversity programs for first year students, and they also do amazing insight series. And so these insight series are a great way to be introduced to a firm, to connect with people at the firm, as well as trying to figure out if the roles that they offer are something that interests you, that you want to commit to. A lot of my friends who have gotten their junior year summers or their sophomore summer internships have been because they participated in some sort of like first year learning insight series. So that would
Mhm.
be my first recommendation. And then for second years, truly, unfortunately, the timeline keeps getting moved up more and more every single year. So if you're a sophomore, I think your sophomore year, your sophomore fall should truly be about preparing to be successful in these interviews. I think that there are kids who are super talented, like super, super talented, very innately smart, but they don't prepare, and they think they got it in the bag, and then things don't go their way. And I always, as repetitive as I'm sure we've heard of this a thousand times, like hard work beats talent every single day. And I am a firm believer of that, that the student that puts in more effort and is committed to recruiting successfully will ultimately get the job. And so truly treating it a 3 credit course, which is what I did. When I knew I was recruiting, I took on a lighter schedule my sophomore year, and my focus was recruiting, and I treated it like if I was taking a class. And every day you do an hour, 2 hours of preparing, and it might sound like a little overwhelming and kind of overkill, but the reality of it is that if you want to be there, there's a short-term sacrifice that needs to be done. And if you're okay with doing that, then I don't see any reason why not first or second year students wouldn't be successful.
Okay, yeah. No, that makes sense. I feel like really treating it like coursework or class is really
Mhm.
important, kind of like allocating that time every day.
Yeah.
Um, but how early should students, start prepping for this recruiting cycle?
This is an interesting question because it depends. I think that if you are full time, you're wanting to apply for full time positions, and you're a last year's final student now, like this is your senior year, those applications have already closed, but they will open again for the following year. So I would start preparing now, networking now, connecting now. For my sophomore summer students who are interested in that program, that preparation starts the summer of your freshman summer, because you will find out in August if you have an interview. And by August, it's too late to start preparing for the type of consulting internship that you're interested in. My same thing for junior summer internships. It
Mhm.
definitely, they interview people at the beginning of the year as opposed to investment banking, which is a whole other conversation. But for consulting, for the most part, from my knowledge, which I can't speak to every firm, we typically interview at the beginning of semesters in August through October. So you
Mhm.
want to start preparing in the summer, ideally, like truly, truly preparing.
Okay, that makes sense. Um, Now, how are you feeling going into the post-grad world? Like, it's great you are excited about this job, we've talked a little bit more about that, but also just, this transition from college to, now being in the working world.
It's exciting. I can't believe I'm graduating. Everybody told me that these 4 years would fly, and they have just, I don't know, like in a blink of an eye. I can't believe I'm a senior already. So it definitely is a little bit of a bittersweet moment. I think the overall graduation feeling, like it's a big change in my life, which is, a little bit bitter. Like I'm used to my community and my friends and all of us being in the same square radius of each other whenever we need each other, to be all over the United States. But I think for me, I'm really excited to start my life in DC. Besides my job, I just met so many wonderful people in DC. It is a wonderful city. I cannot emphasize that enough. There's so much culture, there's so many things to do. And as somebody who's like a museum history person, I mean, I fit right in. I love those museums. And so, yeah, no, I'm just honestly very, very excited. A little nervous, but that comes, I think, with the territory. But I know that I'm going to have a great support system of friends, family, supporting me from afar, close by. And yeah, actually, funny enough, DC has a very big community of Gators. So
Oh,
we
that's
have a
perfect.
Gator, bar for game days, and there's a lot of Gators in DC. So Gator Nation won't be too far. So I'll feel maybe kind of at home.
Yeah, and I feel like you can find community anywhere, so
Absolutely. Yeah.
it'll be good. But I'm so excited for you. Thank you so much for coming on the show today and offering all these wonderful tips. I know that there's definitely going to be a lot of people who find it very useful. But it was lovely having you as a guest on Higher Ground. And that's unfortunately all the time we have, but I appreciate you coming and answering our questions and giving us, this really great insight. But so excited for you, Gabby, especially embarking on this new adventure. So that's going to be great. But thanks for coming on today.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. All right. Well, we'll see you guys on the next episode.